Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm taking a look at this, the F-117 Nighthawk from Italeri. So join me as I get stuck inside the box and see what this one is like. So starting off on the outside, we've got this image of the Nighthawk at either dawn or dusk, having just completed or performing an operational sortie. Up here it tells us that this is number 189 and it's 1/72 scale. We do have super decals for two versions apparently, but there is no figure included, which is a bit of a shame. We do have a Lockheed Martin logo down here, so I presume there is an element of licensing involved. On this side here, it does give us some information about the F-117 and the role that it performed. And on the other edge here, you can see one of the decal schemes included. It does say that the decals are made by Cartograph, which is really good because Cartograph make really high quality transfers. And here is an indication of the paint schemes included, or at least the decal sheet. On the back though, we can see the decal schemes that are included. We have a unknown unit. That's interesting, and also another one which was at a test range. And we do have, as you can see down here, one suggested paint color, which is black. Brilliant. So the thin edges only have the same information we've already seen. So let's get the box open, and you can see that I've not even had this one open yet. So this will be interesting to see what is inside. As usual, I'm going to start with the instructions, and you can see that we've got information about the actual F-117 and some warnings, and it does seem that there's going to be some colour because there's some colour at the top here. Paint schemes immediately as we open up. So let's see how this one folds. Okay, so it's just a really long booklet, so I'll try my best to put it in shot. Right, so starting off, we've got a sprue map, which is really good because it tells you where things are on the sprue so we can find them. Then we do have some colour callouts down the bottom, but there's not that many. It's mostly black, but I anticipate that you'll have some grey in the cockpit and some white for the landing gear bays, possibly some olive for the weapons. And then we come on to the assembly. So the cockpit has a number of components which go into a tub for our seat and our control panel. There doesn't look to be a decal or anything, so you have to paint the instruments as you go through. And then we come on down, insert that into the aircraft, and there are potentially vent covers here which go into place. And then we flip over. And yeah, I think that part we just looked at there is the inside of these vents here. And then on this side, you can see we need to add 20 grams of weight in the nose to stop it from tail sitting. And we add our top and lower surfaces together and then add our tail surfaces. Like the plane is basically finished by step 2. There are some weapons which we can include. There's a nuclear bomb and a laser guided bomb apparently, and these can be installed inside of the bomb bay. I have already built the Revell / monogram, snap tight or quick build F-117, and this does look to have a little bit more variation. It's a little bit different. It looks to me that the landing gear bays and the bomb bays come in single parts, so you can glue them in the closed position, I presume. However, if you want them open, you are going to have to cut them. Seeing as I already did the Revell one with open bomb bay, because you didn't have a choice, I might go closed on this one. Landing gear components look to be relatively straightforward. You have to paint them and then attach them. They get glued into their relevant places with the landing gear bay doors open. And then we come on to our cockpit canopy, which can be glued in either the closed or the open position, which is a nice little touch. And that's it. That is genuinely it. Not a massive, complicated kit by the looks of it. And to top it all off, if you don't like painting, well, guess what? It's only one colour. A rattle can probably would work perfectly fine on this. That's probably what I'd do. I'll just rattle can it because, you know, let's not make it any harder than it needs to be. Decals are sort of marked on here, but they're not labelled. So you're going to have to play a bit of hunt the decal to find the relevant one. But yeah, that's the instructions. So this brings us on to the parts. Let's have a look at the clear parts then. In this bag, we have one little sprue, which contains our canopy and sort of it's like a sensory type thing it covers up. I don't really know. I don't know a lot about the F-117, but there is another clear part there. This is molded to a reasonably nice quality, not much in the way of scuffs or blemishes. The framework is basically non-existent. So if you were going to mask that, I'd actually probably look for a aftermarket set because you'd want to get that quite accurate. It's I'd say that there's no way I'd follow that with a knife. I would absolutely mess that up. So I'd probably look for an aftermarket set, because I hope someone has designed that accurately, because getting those little zigzags will be a bit tough. But yeah, clear parts here actually look okay. Let us then look at the rest of the plastic parts, and you can see that they're molded in black. Annoyingly, you can see that the cartograph decals are in this bag, and not only are they in this bag, but they are also facing the plastic parts. And why that is annoying is because when companies put them in that way up, it runs the risk of becoming damaged. Let us take them out. I don't know why they would have done that. Why wouldn't they just put them in the instructions like everybody else does? Take them out and then take the plastic parts out. So let's look at the decals quickly to make sure there is no damage. So printed by Cartograph. Cartograph makes some really nice decals. The printing is actually really nice. I think that's one of the best upgrades that Italeri ever did, was to go for Cartograph decals, because they are almost like the industry sort of standard now. Everybody likes Cartograph, at least I do. Some people don't. Some people think they're a bit thick, but actually I think they go on quite nicely. Printing is really nice. And actually, despite the fact they were face up, I can't see any damage. So yeah, hopefully no problems in applying those onto the model. And then the rest of the plastic parts, we have 2 sprues molded in black plastic. The plastic feels a little bit dense, maybe it could be a little bit brittle. You can see like the sprue gates here are massive, so a little bit of careful cleanup is going to be needed on there. Detail wise, we have raised panel lines in places and some recessed details too. It does look a little bit old. It looks a little bit dated perhaps in its design. There are some scuffs on the plastic there, but hopefully not noticeable once we have assembled the kit. Wheels look okay. They have sort of see-through spokes, which is interesting. And landing gear bays and bomb bays, etc. here, which will need to be cut out. Ejector pin marks are on this side. A little bit frustrating because they go through some of the details. That one doesn't look too bad though. So yeah, if I glue that in close, you won't see the ejector pin marks. We have our control panel there, very simple. The same with the cockpit tub and our tail surfaces. The vents are quite nice. And let's move on to the last sprue. On here we have our lower surfaces, again raised details, which is giving a slightly older vibe to this kit. I think the Revell monogram one had raised details as well. Bombay, I mean it's quite crisp, details are quite crisp for what they are. There is some weird scuffing and blemishes on the plastic in places, like over here for example. You can see as the light catches it, there's some slight oddities. I think it's probably left over from a slightly unlooked after tooling. Yeah, the landing gear legs look fairly robust. I think they'll hold up the weight of the aircraft. And then we have our munitions over here, which are molded to a moderate quality. There is a little bit of flash in a few places, which might need cleaning up. The seat looks okay. Comes in a number of parts, but again, a little bit of cleaning up might be needed. Ejector pin marks there, which will need tidying up. So it doesn't look too bad. It does look a little bit dated. It looks a little bit long in the tooth perhaps, but for the most part I think you should get a reasonably nice looking aircraft out of it. So yeah, let's wrap this one up. 2 black plastic sprues. I mean, you wouldn't even have to paint this if you didn't want to. If you're a beginner, this would be perfect. You could just glue it together, slap on your decals and call it a day without having to worry too much. I would say if I was to compare this to the Revell one, this might have a slight edge in the details and the options, because you can put your bomb bay open or closed, whereas on that one you only had it open, I think, and you had to have the bombs out. They were literally like suspended out of the bomb bay. This one had the canopy, could be positioned open, so there are some extra bits and pieces. I wonder if I can get a pilot figure for this, because I think it would be nice to display it in a flying pose, but we'll have to see. The clear parts are pretty decent, but I will probably look for an aftermarket masking sheet, because I don't really want to have to mask all these complicated zigzags myself. The decals are Cartograph and they look lovely, despite the fact they were put in the bag face up with the plastic parts. And the instructions, nothing really to complain about, and the fact that they are printed in colour I don't think really matters, because we only have it in one colour, which is black. And that came inside of the box, which is quite nicely illustrated, if I'm honest. That's a nice little bit of artwork. So yeah, a little bit of information about this kit. I think there was no tooling date annotated on the box. I wonder if there was a copyright date. Copyright date down here is 2024, so I would hazard a guess that this was actually manufactured in 2024, so it's fairly recent as things go. But as far as I know, the tooling actually dates from 1990, which would, you know, go hand in hand with the level of detail that we saw and the slightly questionable ejector pin marks, etc. I don't think for 1990 it's too bad, but this is that whole thing about some companies aren't as transparent. You might see the 2024 copyright date on the box and think it is like only 2 years old, where in actual fact, you know, it's considerably older than that. And you might be a little bit disappointed and it might put you off buying things from this brand again in the future. But how does that all work into the price? Because we want to know if it's good value for money. Well, currently at the moment, it seems that this is 14 euros on the Italeri website, which I convert to GBP at the time of recording is about £12. So actually, I don't know. I don't think that is too bad of a price. It's a reasonably large amount of plastic. Granted, it's not the most plastic, but it's not a small aircraft in 1/72, is it? It's actually quite big. It's a bit bigger than you know, normal props and things that I build. So it's not a tiny aircraft, but it's quite simple and a little bit dated. Maybe if you could get it for under a tenner, absolutely, that's quite good value, given the fact that it is an older tooling and it might need a little bit of work to tidy it up, but it does have some good features, such as the options we explored just now. So yeah, maybe Italeri is just asking a little bit too much for an older tooling, but I don't think it's too far off. And I think with that, I'm going to leave this one here. So let me know down in the comments what you thought of my unboxing review and if my assessment of this kit was fair. Don't forget that we have a Model Minutes Model Club, and if you'd love to join the Model Club and get early access to videos and other exclusive perks, check out the links in the description. Massive thanks to these Model Club members for the extra support they give me, allowing me to create consistent content. There are other ways to help support the channel if you would prefer, and again, full information is below the video. However, the best way to support the channel for free though is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.